Is Megalopolis a Megaflopolis? This is the headline that I opened my print review with, and while financially it is very clearly a flop, what about the movie itself? Well, Francis Ford Coppola is a man who has always lived dangerously in Hollywood. A director whose unique methods of making movies once got him fired from directing Patton, though he would rebound with The Godfather, his films have often been as ambitious as the making of them. There is a reason the man has had multiple documentaries made about troubled production he has been a part of, and most young filmmakers would do well to watch these movies and seriously consider if they are making the kind of effort he has when it comes to directing their own films. Coppola is also a man who has worked outside the studio a few times, and it has gotten him into trouble. He famously filed for bankruptcy when directing One from the Heart, in which he took jobs for years just trying to pay back the losses. It may also explain why he decided to direct Jack, despite the script being objectively poor. He was wise enough to diversify his portfolio, and thus he had a second career as a winemaker. My wife is particularly fond of Sophia Rose. For years, though, he had one particular project in mind that he wanted to make a reality. An epic fable known simply as Megalopolis. What Megalopolis would be about was always a well-guarded secret, and Coppola seemed to revel in the fact that it would be this long, complicated project. He would not go to the movie studios for financing, though, as he would cash in all of his chips, which included selling one of his prized wineries, and fund the movie himself. Not only was Hollywood no longer interested in visions from directors like him, he didn't want anyone telling him what to do on this particular project. Megalopolis would be his vision and his alone. Finally, after production started in 1986, we have, in the year 2024, the end result of that vision. Is Megalopolis a good movie? A bad one? Well, this is not your typical movie, and thus a typical review cannot be done. The movie may, in fact, be too big and ambitious for someone like me to review. Watching it was confusing at times, yes, but it was also beautiful and profound. Like Apocalypse Now and One from the Heart, he eschews traditional storytelling tropes to find deeper meaning in situations that are messy and not as self-explanatory as we would like them to be. The title card even claims that Megalopolis is a fable, and thus we can be assured that, like other fables, some parts of the story may be exaggerated to make a deeper point about human existence. Even the opening shot, a scene in which our main protagonist Caesar, played by Adam Driver, stands over a city while he practices controlling time, symbolizes a man who will risk everything to have complete control over his world. Can the world be controlled so easily, though? Caesar seems to believe so. He is a brilliant architect who envisions a utopia called Megalopolis, which will be the highest form of living in all of the world. With his vision, everyone will live like kings and no one will have reason to be unhappy. His political rival, Mayor Franklin Cicero, is opposed to changing the world for the vision of one man and feels that Caesar is blind to the destruction his ideas will foist upon the world. In the most chilling statement of the movie, he says, "Empires die when people stop believing in them." While this movie may have been in production for almost 3 decades, that line of dialogue may cut deepest with virtually everyone who decides to see this. Here in America, we are coming up to a divisive election, to say the least, one in which people fear political violence from the other side if their candidate loses. In Europe, there is also political unrest, with many believing that their old institutions should be torn down and replaced with new ones, and I'm not even going to touch upon the messes in Russia and the Middle East. Could it be that Coppola was worried about where democracy was heading that long ago, and now, with how bad the state of the world is, he felt that he had to make this movie regardless of the personal cost? Is Megalopolis more of a personal warning than a mere movie? I wondered that myself, as Caesar sees visions of statues crumbling before his eyes. His vision for a futuristic city is great if you can afford it, but those who lack stable finances find themselves disenfranchised and in the gutter. When these people have no hope, a young man with no business in being in politics, who is played by Shia LaBeouf, reaches out to them and promises that he will save them from their oppressors, even though all he brings is chaos. And by the way, his followers all wear red caps, lest you think Coppola is playing both sides of the fence a little too much. What is fascinating about this scenario, though, is that neither side is right or wrong. Both sides want to be heard and have the best done for them. And the problems aren't so much the ideas so much as it is the people who obtain power and then compromise everyone else's lives in order to keep said power. This is a problem most would agree is a problem, and if it persists, even Megalopolis will fall despite the technical wonder of the city. Will anyone think about any of this in a film where characters are unlikable and the story progression is confusing? I'm not going to lie and say that there is a aha moment where everything suddenly makes sense to the average viewer. There isn't. Megalopolis is one of those visions that requires you to get on board and make the effort yourself to receive what is being delivered. For many, this will be unacceptable, and I would not be surprised if many in the audience simply leave in frustration. There are times when the production is so messy, some may mistake the movie for being aimless and without purpose. There's even a scene in select screenings where someone in the theater asks Caesar a question, literally breaking the fourth wall. To the average viewer, these are all the showings of a madman. To me, these are all the signs of a man who sees the world and its ill-conceived attempts to be pure as madness, and he is presenting it exactly in that fashion. I did see one critic review, whose opinion I typically respect, say that this movie is such a mess that it would have been better if Coppola had made the film and then locked it away in a vault so that we could all speculate what his final film would have been like rather than experience it. With all due respect to this individual, who I want to stress I do like quite a bit, I wholeheartedly disagree. Art is not meant to be locked in a vault, and though the movie is not perfect, it is more of an artful experience than a typical film. Why would Coppola put his heart and soul into a project where he feels he has something important to say, only to hide it away and never have anyone experience it? This isn't a personal journey or diary. This is a work of love that is meant to be shared with the world. The fact that Coppola went all in on it, knowing that it would likely be the last movie he ever made, speaks volumes about how important it was to him. You don't have to like it, and there are times I struggled, I admit. But this whole mentality that older people shouldn't make movies anymore or just lock them away is disgusting. Megalopolis is far from perfect, but it is ambitious, concerning, and has much to say when you cut through the noise and look deeper. It is a remarkable achievement, and it will likely be re-evaluated as one of Francis Ford Coppola's best films, a triumphant end to a stellar career. I'm Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and I give Megalopolis 4 out of 5 stars. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Just a few more things. First of all, the names that you see on the screen, these are our Patreon and YouTube member supporters, and I thank each and every one of them. Their support helps me make exclusive videos for Patreon and YouTube members, as well as keep the channel running, and of course is just of huge kindness to me. Also, don't forget to check out the iCritic-led podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Deezer, whatever podcasting service you listen to, it is there. We definitely want to see you there. And hey, there's also other videos that you can check out. So, check out these other channels, these other videos, especially that one. I think that's a really good one.